We'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Here.
Trustee Lappin.
Here.
Clerk Palovich. Here.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll,
Excused absence.
Trustee Reiner.
Here.
Supervisor Skibby.
Here. Moving forward to the adoption of the agenda, there are some corrections to the agenda as presented. New business item 13 will be pulled to be placed on the subsequent agenda. The closed session scheduled is to be removed. And we'll also make a new number 1 and reorder items. There's Mr. Golden brought forward one other quick resolution. So we'll have a new number 1, and that new number 1 is a resolution to extend the compensation just in case we need it, because we should have it taken care of before September 1st. But if chances the schedules don't line up, this.
So what are we extending?
It would be until, and this, the
No,
first
what's the
meeting,
name of the
the
resolution?
compensation commission.
Yeah, and I got a
meeting
bunch of
date.
copies. You can get one.
Yeah. Yeah, so if I can't get all the.
Statute required.
Within
Within
30 days.
45 days.
First meeting, is that kind of what it is?
To expand.
Oh, my light's off.
That's the deadline.
But,
The
okay.
meeting deadline.
But we should be actually be all that. This is just in case we need it. So,
Okay.
so we have a new number 1, 13's been pulled, closed session has been pulled. Any other additions, corrections, or substitutions to the amended agenda as presented? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the amended agenda as presented.
So.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Agenda has been adopted in its amended form. This is the first opportunity for public comment. If there's any public comment online, please use the bottom taskbar. Mr. Tells in regards to the Lake Huron Forever Pledge. Is there anybody in-house that has any public comment? If so, please stand to the podium, state your name for the records. Seeing no public comment on either forum, we'll move forward to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled for further discussion on the consent agenda, or are otherwise I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there support? Or it's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Palovich. Yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, moving forward, no old business. First item of new business is the resolution that Mr. Golden brought forward, just in case we need it for timeline on the local compensation commission. Spoke with all the members. They're excited to get going. We should probably be able to meet the original deadline, but this affords us just an additional 30 days. With that being stated, I'd entertain a motion to move forward with the resolution to extend local official compensation commission meeting date deadline.
I'd like you to read it all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Let me take a quick.
No, I'm just kidding, just
I
kidding.
kept it short just in case you had to do it.
Well, whereas, no, so I'd entertain. a
I'll make
motion.
that motion.
Okay, that was a quick motion.
Support.
Motion and support for their discussion.
I have a question. What was the original deadline?
September 1st,
Okay.
which we generically, when we started this, we just kind of threw that dart, and now we're in the current time trying to get 5 retirees to agree on a meeting date has been pretty cool.
So this would take it to September 30th or
This
October
gives
1.
us affords greater flexibility, but we should be able to actually have a quorum for our first meeting date within inside of 45 days before this Friday.
That's what the extension was, 45 days.
Yes, this affords us.
No, it goes to
October
October
1?
2nd, which is a week, October 1st is a Sunday, so until October 2nd.
Okay.
Give us that cushion, but
Yeah.
sounds like we're gonna maybe meeting within
Hopefully.
a week or so.
Copy that.
Was it Laura who made the motion?
It was.
And I,
Okay.
Michelle.
finish.
I made the motion, Laura
Okay,
supported.
thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin. Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, moving forward, to, new business item number 2, which is a resolution to adopt the Alpena Area Lake Huron Forever Pledge. As you all know.
No, we're on number 1. which
Oh,
is
the
number
old
2.
one, sorry.
Okay.
Jeez Louise. So we have a resolution, I apologize, Laura. The resolution designating public depository and authorizing withdrawal. Laura, would you like to
This
just
is a,
introduce it?
this is a resolution from Nicolay Bank. They required this resolution to be done because we moved money from an old CD into a new one. So she just said we needed to redo the
Nope,
resolution.
sorry.
No worries. So with that being stated, I'll entertain a motion to pass and adopt the resolution to adopt or to designate the public depository and authorizing of withdrawals.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support on the table. Further discussion.
Well, this is for that CD, right?
Mhm.
So when that's, do you know that if that, when that CD renews, if we have to redo a resolution each time or?
I'm not,
switch it?
I don't know that answer. I can
Okay.
find out and let you
All
know.
right.
That's a good question. Okay, so we have a motion and support. Seeing no further discussion, roll call please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, so now new business item number 3, which is a resolution to adopt the Alpena Area Lake Huron Forever Pledge. This was introduced through the Planning Commission as to moving forward with a document by resolution that states that we as a board will take any and all corrective actions looking to strengthening our master plan, our rec plans to promote sustainable clean water and coastal activities through our zoning mechanisms, et cetera. This is also done. We've actually, since it's taken a little bit longer than we initially anticipated, we actually are doing this concurrent with both Alpena County and the city of Alpena, which is the first of its kind as a multiple municipal jurisdiction to adopt this pledge. This is a wonderful thing, but I would actually like to introduce a couple people. First, Patrick, who represents the Community Foundation of Northeastern Michigan.
Oh, sure.
Could you just give our board a little bit of the background of how the Community Foundation, working with Huron Pines and the Coastal Stewardship Initiative, got us to this point, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Supervisor Skibby. Patrick Carity, Executive Director of the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan. So we've been working on this at the Community Foundation since 2017. So a call went out from Council on Michigan Foundations to community foundations that had shoreline. Their service area was on the shoreline of the Great Lakes. So there are actually, as a result of that, there are now 5 teams, actually 6 teams. Lake Michigan got 2 teams, but each lake has a team that's working on protecting their Great Lake. The Community Foundation being a non-political organization, also being a convener about, being able to bring different parties to the table, and also being a force multiplier, was invited to engage in this conversation. So together with 2 other community foundations on Lake Huron, the Bay Area Community Foundation, as well as a community foundation that's in Grey Bruce, Canada. So the 3 of us started working on this. There was a similar type of program that went out in the late 90s. And both programs initially had seed funding from the Great Lakes Protection Fund. And so back in the late 90s, when community foundations, Shoreline were pulled together to work on water issues regarding our Great Lakes, for every dollar that the Great Lakes Protection Fund put in, community foundations were able to match that with 9 additional philanthropic dollars. So wanting to re-engage and to talk about the state of our Great Lakes, they came back out in 2017. Early on, I was fortunate to have a great working relationship with Huron Pines, so I invited them to please come to the table and help inform the Community Foundation about this type of work. They are the true experts in the region. And then we were also very fortunate to get Breton Holdersma with Eagle as 2 of our conservation partners to bring to the table. So since then, we've been working on what in 2019 became the Lake Huron Forever Initiative. And it's pretty simple in its thought. So 1, we're looking to engage local communities to activate solutions that make sense to control stormwater runoff and other factors that can pollute Lake Huron. And try and put these local solutions into reality, make them real, and all of it's towards the goal of protecting Lake Huron forever. So that's why the Community Foundation got involved. That's why we're here today. Abby, who's on the line, I don't know if she has anything that she wants to add or correct that I may have said, but that's a little bit about the background of the Lake Huron Forever Initiative and why the Community Foundation is involved.
So, Ms. Ertel, you had a wonderful introduction by Patrick. Is there anything else that from as a representative of Huron Pines that you would like to instill upon the board?
I'm really happy that Patrick is here with you and able to share a little bit about the background of Lake Huron Forever. Patrick and the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan have certainly been initial and early champions of this work. And I think where we're trying to connect healthy water with healthy communities and vibrant economies, that makes a lot of sense. And then I also want to thank the Board of Trustees and Supervisor Skibby and your Planning Commission for jumping on this. I know it's been quite a bit of time since we've gotten it to you today, but I think that 3 jurisdictional component, even though it took us a little longer, is really powerful. And so I'm very excited to have that captured in this pledge. And it also is a celebration of all of the great work that you're already doing and shows your commitment to the idea that Lake Huron and water quality is very important to your community and what you're doing going forward. And so this is a big deal. This is a celebratory moment and it's a success story, which sometimes we don't get enough time to talk about, right? And so each of the action items that are in the pledge under each of the 3 jurisdictions are very much tailored to work that you're already doing, upholds commitments that you've already made to doing good things for the environment and for the water. And we're excited to be able to celebrate this with you. And as part of the Lake Huron Forever Network, we have an expanding network. We have over 50 organizations that are now part of this, both community foundations, community development organizations, conservation organizations. There are 2 other communities that are Lake Huron Forever communities, Augrey and Bay City. And so a big part of what we try and do through that network is bring people together to learn from one another. And so being able to access technical support, community capacity support, and that peer-to-peer learning opportunity is a big part of being in this Lake Huron Forever initiative and this Lake Huron Forever network. So very excited to be here tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words, Ms. Ertel.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. So for the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan, we have 200 miles of shoreline on Lake Huron. Our service area is from Mackinac City all the way down through Iosco County. And while there are 2 current communities that have adopted the Lake Huron Forever Pledge, they are not within our service area. So this would be the first adoption in our service area. And so we're thrilled that it's here in front of you, and I can't wait to see how you vote. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nick. With that being said, we don't want to keep Patrick.
I'll make a motion to adopt
Oh,
the
we have a motion
resolution
To adopt. the
as
resolution.
presented.
I'll support it.
All
That
right.
motion. Giddy up. Further discussion? Yes, trustee Brian.
Well, I read through this thing, believe it or not, all the way. And I just, a couple of things I want to know.
Yep.
Because this is kind of the first time I've seen the pledge. And is this committing us to be part of an advocacy group or an educational organization? Or whatever, there's some budgetary issues here too that I want to ask about, but that's my first question. For example, I mean, I see there's division in the communities along here. None of us want to see, for example, a pipeline that spills into Lake Huron. But also, there's a company effort to try to assuage people's fears of that. Are we going to get into a situation where we have to take a position one way or another on something like that, like the Enbridge pipeline?
Well, I guess that's as generic as we could take a position on anything that has an environmental clause. Now in regards to the affiliation to this pledge. Obviously, when you're talking about the Enbridge pipeline line 5 and those potential negative environmental aspects, I'm sure that's what you're forecasting. We are a governmental entity that can only, we could sign on and say, yeah, we're in support of a motion or a resolution of support for any ongoing. But
Question is it's obligating us to do so based on the majority. In other words, a wag the dog situation, if you will, of the other entities in our area saying the majority rules here, and so we all agreed that we take a position.
well, I
one way or
mean,
the
we
other.
could always bring those resolutions to the board. A resolution of support is actually very, very interesting that you bring that resolution forward because a resolution has already come before the board in terms of support of line 5. But the reality is we're not, I don't see that as an obligation. Now, would it be if we have a position where there's a thwarted effort to discontinue line 5? Because of what the negative environmental impacts would be, I guess then it would be upon this board to act just by sole resolution of support. But are we obligated? I think we're obligated as Michiganders to fight for clean water.
Well,
Now,
absolutely.
not as a municipality, anything could be brought forward to the board. But
The question is, I wanted to know if our board was committed to take a position and express it.
I don't think we have the
in
proactive-
agreement with, are we signing on to an agreement that we will agree with whatever this group?
We're agreeing within the Lake Huron Forever Pledge in the capacity of Alpena County, the city, to mitigate the environmental concerns within our township, within the city and within the county. And now the county was brought in because we reached out to the city to really do that jointly. It made more sense to me when we start looking at one of the worst contaminants to water, to our local watershed. Obviously, Thunder Bay River watershed is one of the largest in the state at a little over 1,200 acres. But 1,200 square miles. It's massive. But bad agricultural practices are what actually eroded the Thunder Bay stream. So it's like, how do we can work jointly with the city because we have stormwater system and those infrastructures in place. But what about the upstream part of it? How do we get involvement of the townships? And that's where the county came in, because the county can look at that and say, they have a function with their planning commission as to the rec plan. And they also look in that function of how do we get that vested interest? Because could we bring on every township within the county? That would be an end goal, because they all have, maybe we're not directly on, as Patrick has stated, directly affiliated with the coastline, but their practices upstream have a direct correlation to what comes out of the mouth of the river. So having the county hop on has now given that ability to that pledge of saying, maybe they can act as the positive actor through their planning commission to instill better practices and maybe getting some of those other outlier townships that have Long Rapids, Maple Ridge. I mean, it's endless. Anything that abuts the north branch of the Thunder Bay, the main branch, and especially the lower and the lower and the upper south branch. There's,
And I understand
Yeah.
most of that, it's just that, and then the other question becomes, are we budgeting anything? Have we budgeted anything that would support this year? And are we intending to budget something in our next fiscal year budget? And if so, what do you think it's gonna need to be?
well, this is new to everybody. It's a wonderful question. Did we budget anything in this year for the Lake Huron Forever Pledge? No, because we never took it.
You know,
Now, that being said, part of what we can instill as best practices really fall back onto the planning commission in their work in ordinance 142, which is our zoning ordinance. And that way we can actually strengthen our pursuits to waterfront residential, if so need be, in terms of setbacks and other best practices. Instituting, we actually, when we redid our ordinance 142, we inserted actually for the first time, green belts. Now, we didn't make it mandatory because it's incremental steps, because everybody likes a manicured lawn to the edge of Wrong Lake. Well, that's not what helps sustainable water quality issues, is instituting a green belt. Now you have strengthened, you don't have to harden a break wall, you don't have to do a lot of other things. If you'd like to see a green belt, I may be one of only a handful in this entire township that implemented a green belt, so my house.
which is
an
higher,
example.
foliage at the shoreline, right?
Well, it's any uptake, you wanna have, you wanna mitigate erosion, and so, I mean, and
I think the city just approved something at Mission
Yeah.
Kiwa's area.
yeah, and they have a green initiative, they worked with Huron Pines, we were, as a municipality, we also partner with Huron Pines, because they are the only entity that can help us with a lot of aquatic and non-aquatic invasive species. They are our go-to for that resource. They're doing inventories currently, I think, last week, introduced, Huron Pine staff to Bureau of Land Management and actually got access to Thunder Bay Island. So they're doing invasive species monitoring. So in terms of your secondary question, have we budgeted? No, but are there projects maybe that we can identify?
Well, I'm looking at action steps here.
Yep.
Okay, and it talks about signage, and what else? Let's see, is this in 3? Signage, storm drain stamps, I have no idea what that is. Business window decals, etc. Doesn't look like, sounds like a lot of money,
No,
but it sounds
it's,
like.
it's
a couple
more of the
thousand.
educational component and introducing best practices. Because this is a curve very much like simply our zoning ordinance. There's about as many people that know about water quality and the Lake Huron Forever Pledge as there are people that understand our current zoning ordinance. So this is another opportunity for the planning commission to look at the next 5-year cycle on our rec plan and our master plan and start engaging and looking at what those best practices are moving forward.
And in number 9, it talks about us under action steps, talks about us identifying opportunities to raise or allocate funding.
Yep.
So, again,
Yeah.
we're gonna face that, I suppose, when we do our budget next year, but I just wanted to know what we're looking at here.
Nope, there's nothing committed as this stands, but if we identify an opportunity that we can work jointly, potentially with other municipal partners that have taken this pledge as well. And maybe go for a Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant or other mechanisms. Doesn't mean that it has to solely come out of our general.
And I assure you, asking the questions doesn't mean opposition. I just.
Oh, no, by no
ask
means.
Those
No.
questions. That's all. I
It's
have.
been such a delay. I appreciate the questions because Toots, we introduced this pledge well over a year ago at the planning commission and started going on it. But then when we had the conversation, I don't know exactly when, in front of Rachel, and I said, why doesn't the city do this? Then it was like, well, that makes sense. And then we're talking about townships in the outlying county, and it made more sense for the county as the umbrella to absorb that as a first step. So I thought it was a very comprehensive approach to us as a community, identifies bad past agricultural uses in our upper stretches of our watershed that have a direct correlation to the Thunder Bay River mouth that affects all of us in terms of drinking water and recreational opportunities.
Good luck with the farmers.
I love it. With, yes,
Couple of things, I
yeah,
guess.
giddy up.
Not necessarily so much questions per se, but maybe just observations. This is great. But I wonder if we are piggybacking on the thoughts and desires and hopes of Huron Pines and this pledge. If we're piggybacking on that, are we also piggybacking any potential vicarious liability anywhere along the line? So if somebody outside of us makes a decision by doing this resolution, have we also accepted whatever those future decisions might be? And I don't know the answer to that. And so I don't know if that imposes any, if, I guess, vicarious liability on the township.
Could I ask just a question as to that?
No.
Is it, giddy up. So the speculation of potentially mitigating liability, obviously, that's all of our jobs in terms of making the best decisions possible for the future of our township. What liabilities would be inherent to taking this pledge? I would, first thing, we didn't piggyback, we actually worked with Huron Pines and looking at what we had as an overlap to our infrastructure and where we could actually make sound best practices.
Which I assume will follow suit
Yep.
with every coastal township or perhaps in that sense, maybe every township. I don't think these are bad things, like Russ has said. I think this makes perfect sense. We have an obligation just as stewards of the water.
Yeah.
But one of my obligations and all of our obligations is the fiduciary responsibility of this township.
Correct.
And so I just wasn't sure if some future board had added something that might tie us into some potential litigation somewhere along.
Well, then I guess I would speculate that the future board should do the research and look at what best practices as to our existing ordinance, because this is really how it's interfaced.
Is that how it's gonna-
In municipal government, this is really gonna be looking at how we can interface our goals and aspirations in this pledge and look at real world impacts in our zoning. I mean,
So-
that's, and do you have, yes, Mr.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
can I-
no.
Okay. So, I appreciate that, right? I'm risk adverse and I gotta look out for the community foundation to make sure that we're not gonna be liable, right? So I don't see that currently, all right? All I see on this really is an upside, all right? Now, the Lake Huron Forever pledge that you're adopting is not the same one that was adopted in Bay City. It's not the same one that was adopted in Eau Gray, and it's not gonna be the same one that is adopted by the communities all along the shoreline, because remember, this is about local solutions. All right, so what we need here will be different. So it's not that you're signing, a pledge that everybody is signing that has an end goal. It's really just what's happening locally, what are the needs for that? And we're going to just focus some attention on addressing those. From a financial perspective, great question, right? And could there be things that you decide that you want to work on, or that you want to do with your monies? Quite possibly. But keep in mind, we're a grant making organization and we can make grants to you as a government entity. So if there are things that you want to identify, the Lake Huron Forever initiative can actually be something that helps fund that. All right. So that's what came to mind with your question, sir. And then with your questions, how I kind of look at it and think about it.
And I think if I might
Yes,
speak
by
to
all
Steve's
means.
question or it's speculation, Steve, I think that's exactly right. I think if we passed in our zoning ordinance, something that said all farms, all property owners on the river, for example, within our township, could not fertilize within so many feet of the river, or couldn't let their cattle go down and walk in the river and drink water or whatever they let them do. Natural things.
I
Natural
think
things, you
I
understand.
forecasted the bad past practices. I think you just.
Yeah.
Well,
So in other words, if we pass that ordinance and try to make it ex post facto, or whatever the language would be from a lawyer standpoint. Yeah, in other words, if we tried to enforce it,
we can't do
to
things
people.
retroactive.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was going from, but I guess if we're simply trying to adopt future best practices in terms of how we do zoning and what is
And local
what is
projects.
reasonable prudent and et cetera, then I guess we're okay. And if we're not, if we are an independent body from this pledge, or at least who we're endeavoring to support, then that isolates us a little bit more. So that's good.
I don't know, Tim, did I say anything you don't agree with legally?
I haven't heard anything I disagreed with yet. I look at it more from future planning, zoning, planning commission.
Yeah.
Keep this in mind while we're working on.
Yeah, like, so
Future
for the
projects.
example that you bring, like, you don't wanna, run into past agricultural practices, not fertilizing within 25 feet. Technically not really supposed to by state and federal law be applying, fertilizers within 25 feet of open water. And also grazing cattle aren't supposed to enter streams anymore. So now, can you ban it? No. It's the same as saying, by this resolution, we're gonna ban blight, and blight won't be an issue in our township anymore. Doesn't mean that people are gonna clean up. There's my analogy.
Well,
So unfortunately, it's just a best practice. So it really falls back into, unless we can identify some projects where if the city, county, we can say stormwater, which is one that's easily identifiable. City's already moving forward with their green infrastructure movement, but there's a significant amount of linear feet of that stormwater that's affiliated and directly connected to the cities and that lies in the township. So the stamps, those are literally just stickers saying, don't dump trash or refuse in the stormwater drain. It's as simple as that. These are just little techniques that have come from here on Pines all the way back to the grayling days. And where Abby started in terms of stormwater retention and bioswales and other greenbelt abilities. So simply just that.
all right, now I would assume that NEMCOG is probably gonna be one of the entities that will be looking at that.
So Denise Klein's extremely familiar
Okay.
with the pledge. She's our representative through NEMCOG that helps us with our zoning. So yes, she's more than aware. We've introduced some of these in our previous iteration of ordinance 142. It says introducing it to a community is in incremental steps rather than just saying, Farmer A, you can't have. That's not the position of this. It's what are the best practices for the cleanest water quality moving forward.
All right, I'm good. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you very much. Patrick Harity. Oh, I appreciate the correction, sir.
Can you
So-
spell it?
Harris. I've been mispronouncing it for.
PARICKAGHTY.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last name too.
So, with that being said,
Motion and
we have a
support.
motion and support on the table. Any other discussion before we move forward with the resolution? Roll call, please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. So again, sir, I thank you and the Community Foundation from getting this ball rolling. We caught it and we'll do our best to keep it pointed in the right direction.
Thank you so much. I'm not only excited and community foundation, but also a citizen of LP. So thank you very, very much for your support. Thank you.
thank
And
you.
Ms. Ertel, thank you very much for your words and I hope you have a wonderful evening and then we'll be in contact.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Moving forward to our next item of new business, which is the North Point Shores Special Assessment Resolution. This is now coming to us as the second legal option for defining the district. This is now instead of per linear foot, looking at a lump sum of $600 per parcel. Which puts I believe the collection at $47,400 annually for a 5-year term.
47-4.
So at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to introduce the resolution for the special assessment of North Point Shores.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion.
This has all come back as a result of the last group of people that came here and that they went back and they did their homework. They've settled on $600. They're happy, so we're happy, right?
We'll see.
Well,
Okay.
The letter.
70-some% are happy.
Yeah. What was it?
70-some% are happy appears.
So,
Yeah,
so unfortunately, following the last meeting that we had, obviously there was some, let's just call it internal strife within their special assessment district as to, how they wanted to proceed. There could equally be just as much and 20% vote to kill this moving forward. But as a fiduciary of the special assessment district, it is, a legal mechanism.
Yep.
And so it's one of two legal mechanisms. I support this. It's upon them and their association and that district to support it or kill it. If they do kill it with the 20% vote, as they did at the last time, they will run out of money. And at that point in time, technically, by default, we're no longer, if they run out of money, I don't know what our obligation is as a fiduciary.
well, that, I was gonna,
Good four-wheel drive vehicle.
I was basically gonna ask that question, is that there really isn't, for all practical purposes, a option 3.
No, we've introduced, and that was, I think, the bitter taste of the introduction of not allowing something that was erroneous to continue. We've corrected it as we as a board have corrected a plethora of other issues. I've offered in this interim, since the last time that this district came before the board, I've offered to more than one resident within that district. I will help moderate and educate throughout this process. It wasn't contacted until we received the second draft of a resolution that then we had to correct through legal to make legal standard. So we've done that. It's a legal document. We can introduce it. If they so choose to kill it, it's upon them as residents. But yeah, this is another swing at the old proverbial ball, so to speak.
I had one question on the document itself. Tim, maybe, I don't know if this came from you or from us, but North Point Shores Drive Special Maintenance Assessment. I have no idea what direction that North Point Drive, I assumed it was going north. But anyway, when you get into this, believing it's going north, I always thought the hunting camp and so on was on the west side of the point. And so we got in the second line here, tax parcels having road frontage on the westerly and southerly side of North Point Shore Drive. Is it really on the westerly side?
I'm not a good one to ask.
On the curve.
Dan Thorpe was,
So Dan, so this has been scrubbed. So you have a similar issue that I've come across several times within the township, and that's the conundrum of a compass. So North Point Shore.
So I gotta drive out there with my compass.
The North Point Shore is actually, for all intent and purpose, is a due east-west road. Although it's curved linear in nature, so I'm sure at some stretches you may be facing north or south. But yes, so this district is from the parcels defined by Wholesome's holding of 3 parcels that are adjacent to the lake frontage, which meets the definition and standard of the original district, which is defined by lake frontage owners that also have road access. So it does not define the north side of the road, because the north side of the road is held principally by Wholesome. And they would, as we discussed at the last meeting, and I've repeated numerous times to the special assessment district, with one vote could kill any special assessment that they so chose, just by their sheer volume of frontage. So the definition of this district is on the westerly side, because actually after you hit the first Y, alleviating the easement from Wholesome's.
Can you go to the map, please?
I could, if it would help.
So that's on the south
Otherwise, I
side,
could
and then
grab-
when it turns, isn't it on the east side? When it turns north, isn't it, whatever. It seems like the properties are on the east side. of
I'll
the
pick you
road
up.
when it goes north.
I'll pick you up and we'll go for it. But no, the definition of the district is true. It is the south facing property owners that have water frontage. And that's how they define, that is one of the characteristics that we held true. Solely because if you expanded the district, as was asked of this board to give consideration to by public comment, you would introduce Wholesome, and that's where you get into the.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought we were doing.
Yep.
But if it's at some point going north, those properties that front on the water.
Which is why you saw the westerly side, which are those 3 parcels, because that's actually on a curved linear bend. So that would meet the definition of a true westerly.
No, westerly would be over here, Folsom, right? East would be, if it's.
Folsom is all on the north side of North
feel we
Point
need a
Shores
map.
Road.
Can we
I'm
just
on-
get a map?
yeah.
Well, maybe the language problem is, you know,
No, I don't think it's a language problem.
well. I'm telling you,
I'm starting to think,
I used to draw out descriptions in, you know, when I was doing
Yeah.
abstracts, so, you know, I think I know.
Yeah.
What I think I mean, but you know, if the road's going north, the properties are on the east side of the road, are they not? The road frontage on the easterly side of North Point. Road.
no. We'll address this. We don't need to, so. the
Okay,
the district.
I don't care,
Yeah.
you know, I don't care, but I just wanted to, if that's a mistake, I wanted to correct it. That's all.
Yeah, no, noted, but the westerly languages as the first front parcels that you come to after the Y separation onto North Point Shores private drive and not the Lafarge, Beaumont, well, former Beaumont and the Steve Fletcher easement, which is the straight due east all the way to the tip of the point.
Mhm.
At that point in time, the road naturally curves to the south. And as it curves back heading east to, at the start of
So
the
the road does
residential,
go south,
so at that
that was the question.
100-foot chunk, yes, that would meet the definition of westerly face, because that's technically by compass.
Mhm.
Magnetic north.
You told me it was going. I
Yeah,
thought you
6
told me it was
degrees
going east,
plus
west,
5
and north.
minutes, yeah.
So I thought you told me it was going east, west, and then north, so no, it's going south.
Well, when you're coming in and opposite when you're leaving North Point Shores, you have to head north
Well,
to
this
get
is
back to the
from,
Y.
it's from the starting. point. I
So-
got you.
And we've got all the parcels, they're.
Truly
Oh, you start at the end of the point and go to the gate, right? Is that what you're doing, Tim? You don't know.
Tim,
No,
Dan
I'm
Burke
I'm
is
just, I'm just glad all the parcel ID numbers
Dan
are in
Burke
there.
is on the
That's all the.
That covers it anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
See below.
So to that, the district is whole by definition. It's just, it is kind of cockamamie how the
Yeah.
road naturally curves. But with that being said, this is a legal document
You never
that
heard
would meet the legal definition of
Suppose we should keep this, shouldn't we?
Public Act, what, 188?
Think about it again.
And hopefully in the interim, that district will actually reach out. Because I think that there are some conflicts within that neighborhood that could easily be discussed and talked about and worked through, and hopefully that comes to fruition. But that is their decision. I've offered several times.
They don't have an HOA, I think.
Yes, they have a board, they have bylaws, they have articles of incorporation as they should. And that's for them to monitor. We can't supersede there. So we have a motion and support. Any other discussion as to the North Point Shores resolution of $600 per parcel for an annual recruitment of $47,400?
so just to put it up, this basically gets it started, then we send out notice letters, and then
It'll
if
be on-
people want to object, they come to the next meeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's for the public hearing,
We have
Where
3
we-
opportunities.
where the math will be done based on how many people object.
Yeah,
That'll be
before,
your-
and before the
Yeah.
next meeting, we'll head out to North Point and I'll bring my company.
So this doesn't get finalized until October. If it
Yep,
goes
this is
through.
the introduction. This
This
meets
is
the
just-
standard.
Meeting 1 of 3.
It's a legal standard that meets PA 188.
Who's responsible for publishing the notice and mailing the notice? out?
We will mold it,
You'll be
we,
doing it.
we
Okay.
will,
We,
all right.
Dan was actually very thorough in this
Yep.
step by
Yeah.
step, so.
Okay,
uh,
Is this gonna
trustee
be
Rapp.
done in 3 motions or is this all just one motion?
this is just one.
This is one
this
motion
Resolution.
for this resolution.
for resolution 1 and 2, we do
Yep.
it in one motion.
Yeah, one
yes.
motion for resolution 1. So with that being said,
Motion's
we
been
have
made,
a
support.
motion and support to resolutions 1 and 2. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none?
She looks at me.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah,
Trustee Reiner.
Yes,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, this is some budget adjustments. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented. We have general fund, public safety fund, and water fund to transfer and adjust. Principally, just so that you know, The bigger chunk was a change in, especially in public safety, was a correction to updated insurance, vehicle insurance for public safety.
Yeah, the more majority of our increase for our insurance was in the public safety vehicles.
I'll make a motion, we approve the budget adjustments as presented.
We have a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented. Is there support?
Or
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
Just to,
Trustee
ahead, Norm.
Foley.
Yes, I'd like to see that, at our next opportunity or next meeting that we bring up, fixed disposal asset list, for the 2020 pickup and the chief mobile and see where that's at. See if we can get some money back in that budget fund. Recommendation for the next,
Okay, so you want to add discussion of the fixed disposal asset list and having that conversation?
yeah, at the next meeting,
Okay.
just so we
Just
can
make a note.
discuss that.
Okay.
the only question I had, Mr. Supervisor, was
Yes.
whether or not we're moving, these confuse me, as you can tell, I get confused easily.
No,
But noted, is that what you said? But
no, I said no worries.
noted is all right too. Are we moving to the general fund, some of the things that were originally budgeted in the public safety fund? That's what I wanted. Is that what's going on?
No,
No,
Okay.
No.
That's all I need to
the
know.
chief used funds within the public safety fund and moved them to the worker, to the vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Yeah.
looking at the junior high liaison and I just, that was when I just didn't.
Oh, that was
understand
just
what
a
going on.
correction because we had the amount that we had from going from the general fund did not match the exact amount that we had put in the public safety fund. So it was just a little correction.
Oh, okay. So we're sharing that with public safety. fund.
The general fund, whatever we do for the Thunder Bay liaison officer, the general fund contributes to the public safety.
yeah,
So it's basically the general fund is paying for it,
Yeah,
but we have to
Yeah.
go through the public safety.
okay.
oh, so with that being said, we have a motion and support. Are there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Lappin,
yes,
clerk Plavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers,
Yes,
trustee Reiner.
Yes,
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, moving forward to the next item, which is a lease agreement with Quadient. This is actually a business item that's already taken place. We were coming up on our equipment lease end date. I reached out because there's actually only 4 entities that are allowed to have these pieces of equipment that are sanctioned by USPS. So I went through all 4 of the approved providers, if you will. Pitney Bowes, Quadient, I don't have all my notes, all 4 of them. I heard back from 3 of the 4, and then working with the 3 that I did hear back from, in comparison to our current situation with Pitney Bowes, Quadient brought forward the best solution. This is actually a lease for not only a postage machine, but also a folder and stuffer, which we currently have, although it was gifted from the county and has probably more than 1 decade of use on it, I'm sure. And it's still a cost savings. I don't have the exact, I think we're still $400 cheaper than just Pitney Bowes with just
Per quarter.
I was
postage.
gonna say.
it
per
wasn't
quarter, per
actually
month.
gifted from the county, it was gifted from the company.
Oh,
So it
okay.
goes back to the company.
So we'll be, so
Just for clarification.
we're gonna be, moving forward with Quadient, but I just wanted the opportunity because this did have, the exposure. It looked like, an over expense. And so I just wanted to bring this lease and contract, before the board, for support, moving forward with Quadient.
We have to make any adjustments in our, with our computer people?
No, the company is actually, another good thing is this company, has local resources. The 2 people that own the company and operate are one's in Traverse City, one's in Onaway, so we'll actually now have the ability for customer service within the same day. Whereas Pitney Bowes had been sending people from Portland, which is in between Grand Rapids and East Lansing.
And we won't be paying the
And then
$50 or $75 charge to
$75,
load the
yeah.
machine. They don't charge you to load the postage on your machine,
This
like
is-
Pitney Bowes does.
This was a win-win-win in
Okay.
comparison to the contract that we were at with Pitney Bowes. So we got two new pieces of equipment for less than we were historically paying for one. So at this motion,
I'll make a motion.
we have a motion to move forward with the Quadient lease. Do we have support?
I'll support that.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none?
I just a quick, but is Quadient? You said they're local, but they're
Traverse
based-
City.
No, the Quadient's the parent company. This is the service contract with Quadient is the company's based out of Traverse City.
Okay.
And that young man is the one that I was working with as a representative of Quadient. And then his field agent lives in Iowa. And so that was another benefit.
Oh, so
because
that
historic-
person would come and,
We will have the ability, if we need customer service, the potential within an hour to have customer
Okay.
service.
I didn't
Versus,
say we're under a different.
versus
umbrella.
as you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last time we actually had to have it serviced,
Oh,
it
but it was
was,
weeks.
it was weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And we lost,
Down over weeks.
we
yeah.
lost days
Wow.
of being able to mail.
We
I
had
was
a-
actually,
We were buying stamps.
I was going and buying stamps.
wow.
So no monthly ad fee. We're just getting nickel and dime, unfortunately. So this was out of the four, like I said, there's only 4 companies that were approved by the United States Postal Service. I reached out to all 4, gave equal opportunity for all of them, and this one barred none. Gave us a better product, more update product, better customer service for less money. So. Any other discussion? Yeah, roll call. please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the next item, this is as simple as, you'll see in the packet. I put together a recommendation, as to the, rebuttal, that's in your packet, for, our cell tower lease with Verizon. Their first and second opportunity, for rebuttal, were a lesser volume of payment than they're currently paying, which was unique. And so in speaking with this and trying to actually, what this does as what I recommended, that's in the, I believe it's in the second email. Actually, yeah, it is. It would be the third page of the emails where actually my rebuttal to their position. I would like that motion, to support, the township's position that's on page 3 of the email, where you see the new rent amount and the escalators on percentages therein. I would like, board support by motion, to follow this recommendation. This recommendation puts, Verizon finally on a tier that's equal to the other 2 contracts and lease agreements that I've already worked through with T-Mobile and AT&T. This puts them right there in par. Yes, Russ.
Or did the other companies have the ability to add stuff to the tower?
With permission.
Okay.
Henceforth, Verizon wanted no permission moving forward. They wanted to give us less money, and on a rolling 5-year average, and only disperse money on the 5th year, for the previous 4. It didn't fly any kite, and
No.
there's pretty strong wind.
The question I had, and I'm not a technical person, clearly, either, although I can read the numbers, but just the starting point is I have trouble with. But is it possible that they could put something up there that would interfere with the viability of the other 2 companies' signals? And should we put language in this that says you can't do that?
I think that they're very much controlled by the FAA when it comes to signals and
Okay.
transmission. I mean, that would be upon them. That'd be kind of more of a corporate espionage tactic.
Well,
And let them have it. As far as I see it, cell phone companies, I have no affiliation or love for a single one of them.
Well, the language I like to put
The
in,
reality is, as I state to every of the companies that starts these talks with the township and myself is, do you know what the going cost for steel is to build a 1,700-foot tower that would meet your standards? And then we start the negotiations because they can't afford to put themselves. out.
and I did want to mention to you that I thought you did a great job in negotiating this.
He did, he really did. It was getting kind of comical and, Nathan just kept giving it back to her and at one point, she's like, well, will you give me a counter proposal? She's like, well,
Read your email, I think was my.
see below.
Yeah, see
But,
below.
so he stood firm and, then finally she said, okay, take it to your board.
I like it. I like language in contracts when I have any concern like this. That they will not interfere with any of our other beneficial business relationships.
Yeah.
That have to do with the other tower rentals.
Well, henceforth,
Or you could have language in there that says that you'll comply with any and all other jurisdictions.
None of the leases state, don't lease to anybody else or interfere with our products by leasing to somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's just, if they can fit the stuff up there, we don't warrant that it's gonna work. But yeah, they wanted full freedom and doing whatever they wanted to do up there.
Why,
Yeah.
you might as well ask, right?
well, it can't fall off the floor, I suppose, but you might lose signal. So with that being said, I'm asking the board to make a motion following the recommendation of that you see on page 3 with the new rent amount of $1,600 per month commencing.
So you want us to,
Just make a motion that way I.
that we support your
Support my
recommendation. I'll make that motion.
I
Support.
support it, you know.
Who supported it?
Trustee Paul. That was a fast one. Further discussion. Because I
Good
know
job.
Whitney is just chomping at the bit to re-engage in this conversation.
You want a roll
Yes,
call?
please, roll call.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes,
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. I'll let you know how that goes. Moving on to the next item of new business is a quote from Frank's Key and Lock for an estimate for a code lock and door closer. This is hopefully one of the last remaining deficiencies in terms of our township office security measures. This was identified when we actually had a potential incident, but it shone the light on our deficiencies, as they usually do, thankfully, and it wasn't a big issue, but caught it in time, and that is the ability to lock in this door, so that you all know, is in between the elections, which would be the first 2 garage door bays, where we house a lot of elections and some DPW archival prints. And this would be the door between that room and going into the middle 2 bays, which are solely DPW. The reason that lock is on this is because inherently, sometimes when you have working garage base, garage doors get left open. And if those garage doors are left open, why have locks on any other door if they can just walk in through the back door? So this would complete and give security on at least internal at all principal points of ingress and egress. So it is definitely my recommendation to move forward with the estimate for the code lock and door closer for a total of $1,435, and it would be actually utilized under buildings and grounds
Building and
101-265-930 or 000-930-010. So that'd be my recommendation.
that's an internal door.
It is an internal door.
I will make the motion.
I have a motion on the table, is there, and supported by trustee Pooley, further discussion.
Well, I was just trying to imagine, so if I go through here to where F and V are, and then the next room where you keep your stuff.
It's that door that would go into the
next-
next bed.
The next,
right.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be secure from all the other places.
Yeah,
Okay.
because when those garage doors are open, people could walk through the back
Right.
and get right to where we
Right.
are. Yeah.
Okay,
If that door's not
I was
locked.
just wanting in my head,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
to the east.
because
So-
that's correct.
I spent my first 7 years in Portland, so Portland is west of Lansing. East Lansing's further east.
Yeah, hey, yeah, I didn't misspeak there, stand corrected, sir. So we have motion and support, roll call please, if no other discussion.
Trustee Reiner,
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yeah.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. The next item of business is another deficiency that wasn't really noted in terms of their condition until we were working on our roof. That's why you'll see before you two quotes for skylights, the 6 in this room and the 2 in the kitchen. We have a couple different ways to look at it. We can either fix them because they do leak, or redesign them and box them in and lay a flat roof right over top of these spaces. The reason I brought forward 2 quotes, well, these are the only 2 companies I could find that operate with this size. One local, one not. What we did notice when they were working on the roofs was actually how much natural light can penetrate when they're actually cleaned and functioning the way that they're supposed to. So these have been here for going on 40 years. And they actually, these are, with the exception, it doesn't look like they're really clean. They actually clean the top cover before they put on, and there is no light penetration.
So that.
And when they
material's in
actually-
Between the glasses?
There's a dome above this
Yeah.
level. So it's one of those things. One, they are leaking. So love it, hate it. This township municipal building isn't going to be torn down and rebuilt anew. So we have to make do with what we have. We have a solid roof. We have some leaking skylights. So I
Will
guess.
that put us over budget? in any way?
Nope, we actually have this funded appropriately at it's still under buildings and grounds 100,
It's under.
or no, well, but that's the category
Oh.
for Department 265, isn't it?
Yeah.
Buildings and grounds. Yeah, 931,000, more than adequately funded. Out of these 2 quotes, obviously, I hope you would understand which one's my recommendation in saving $3,000. But I bring it to the board, so. Laura? Sorry.
I was just curious, so these are both to replace the domes.
The whole sky.
So.
I mean, right, but you said the other option was to cover them up.
Would have to have basically a new, just re-engineer it and fill in this void.
And we have no idea what that would cost. Probably a lot.
I
more
could,
than-
I could get, well,
Probably a lot more than $9,000.
Probably a lot less.
but you never know.
Probably.
Could go either way.
Probably about half of that.
Could go either way. So,
Which kind of leads to my question. We've spent a fair amount of money trying to make this building as energy efficient as we can. But yet we have 8 holes that I wonder how much of an R factor. So
no,
so
that's a
what I'm
legitimate-
looking at here is sort of the diffuser for the skylight above that. So there's a
Correct.
gap in between
there's a
there.
2-foot gap.
Okay.
So you have a very valid point. I actually thought of the same one. And I asked, and he didn't know the offhand what year these were installed.
Yeah.
I said, what R value different is there in this technology versus what we have in Elam?
Oh, I'm sure there's.
So,
And so I
But
guess,
but the
probably-
question I think is,
Yeah,
Steve's
it's
question
valid.
is, compared to the roof and the material underneath the roof,
well, they're inherently, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we would
skylights,
fill it
yeah.
in, we'd probably have a higher R factor than just replacing.
well, and then I would also assume
I
as
would make that assumption.
that will they be clearer than this, or will it be essentially the same diffusion?
To be, the internal would be somewhat similar opaque diffusion.
Oh, so this would be replaced and,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
this is
gotcha.
this is
Whole
the
unit.
entire
Okay,
skylight
I gotcha.
substructure.
I got you.
As long as
So
we
it's
can see the
likely that
birds.
you could let in
Don't think so.
additional light,
where-
which
But
may
as
or
long
may
as
not
we can see
reduce
the
the
bird.
cost of electricity, but I'm just wondering about heat loss.
Yeah, fair question. Obviously not as efficient as an intact roof, but I
Yeah,
don't
but
even
then
know.
you'd have to insulate all that. Huh, Interesting.
It's, yeah. So I looked at, we have an issue. We spend a fair amount of money. Is there how many conversations?
Two.
Okay, Russ, thank you very much for starting that one. Let's close it up. So I guess I looked at the board. I mean, between these 2, I know which would be my recommendation. But
Do we want to explore what it would cost to just completely get rid of the skylights and then come
I
back with
could,
that
I could bring
information?
that and see and resecure.
Like
to
table
sure
it till we
these
get
are-
that?
Well, your problem is you're gonna be facing winter here very soon. And you won't be able to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the build.
It does seem
timeline
we
is-
usually have problems with these in the spring when the
Yeah.
ice and everything is melting and yeah, we
Right,
would
yeah,
want to
you
get
pick-
it done.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
wanna get it done before.
So I,
Thanks.
I bring this because there is a need.
I wish I
But-
knew what that, I wish I knew what the laugh meant between the,
The improvements in our value, yeah,
yeah,
I'm,
sure they're significant.
yeah, it was.
Because we
seemingly-
know that 40 years ago, a thermal pane window compared to today's thermal pane window is much different. And so is it tinted a little bit or?
It just has the opaqueness, so it's in their specs. And I went on their website, so I mean, you had some options, your colors in terms, but that was just the metal surrounding. But then you actually have, you have another option. It was just different than, you have a triple dome option, which would then increase your R factor there again, but you have the more
cost.
you have more lost light. And so it's, I just looked at the acrylic versus the polycarbonate lens, which was a cost savings. And then simple bone white, which was a cost savings. So they're in. I saw it as, when I saw actually how efficient they were when they had those covers off and what the natural light did.
It really did brighten it up a lot in
It
here.
was, when I say night and day, it was
No pun
ridiculous,
intended.
ridiculous how much light actually was able to get in.
Well,
Well, you
I mean,
call the
it makes sense to me to, if we're gonna spend all the kind of money that we spent to have a leak-proof roof, I don't think we wanna have 8 leak points.
No, henceforth,
So I would make a motion that we accept the bid from Story Roofing Company to replace the skylights as presented in the
out of GL 101-265-931-000.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Maintenance and repair.
Beautiful.
I support that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and support on the table. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Reiner,
Yes,
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Because I didn't know how I was gonna talk to a contractor. It's like, could you get me quotes in building a roof in 8 different sections? And it's metal and wood, and then metal again before the rubber roof.
Let's keep her moving. Let's
Copy
keep her
that,
moving.
yeah, She's got a timeline. She's
oh,
trying to
you guys
save a
got
buck.
it back.
Yeah, you're Skibby, you're gonna lose.
So anyways, the next item of business, is CNS carriers, which is dust control.
Read the entire thing.
No, no, we cannot.
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to approve this invoice for the dust control. This was quite a jump up in terms of cost for previous years. And the volume of materials that were applied were very similar. So,
Wow.
They didn't throw,
Cost
so they don't charge us for one part of it, right?
well, they usually don't charge us for one part. They actually did that and then they did it a second time. So that's why we
Okay.
have some of that charge. They do the dust control usually, and they always donate. The principal drive right located to the very next northern entrance for the baseball diamonds. They donate that. So they did that. And but then they did it again because we also had part of the MDOT County Road Commission Township Partnership for hardening the shoulders moving from here, well, from Hamilton to Bloom Road. They took those spoils and they used those here. So they redid, put gravel and crushed up asphalt, redid their whole entire entryway and parking lot with that material. And then proceeded to use the remaining 700 gross ton to harden Bloom Road west of 23 to French.
Wow.
I'll make a motion that we,
Do you want to put you on?
Yeah.
accept the bill,
Yeah, the
The
invoice.
the invoice, pay the bill in the amount of $2,118.
Do you want to do the use of GL?
Out of GL number 592-537-932.000.
Yeah, we have a motion on
I'll
the table
support it.
and support. Further discussion?
Question,
Yes.
Was this part of what we budgeted through when we were doing the road commission budgeting, or is this separate and apart?
This is separate and apart. This goes back several,
This goes through the
What-
DPW department.
all the way through so we have several topics. One part of this is, as you saw in the application for CNS, is dust control at the M32 fire station, which is MD, and that's a cost share of us. We've always historically done that parking lot. We also are obligated, not really obligated, but we are as good stewards and partners with our community on Piper Road for that tower access. That is not even our property outside the footprint of the tower and the Alano Club. So we have deeded access from the abutting neighbor. And so part of that agreement historically, and I continue to honor that, is that we will once a year dust control that. So as our crew and staff are going up and down across their yard, all that dust doesn't go into their house.
So part of this should be or could be under the water department.
It is.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
It principally is,
All
as
But
it always
this-
has.
This part too?
Yeah. Yeah. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. The next item of business is, and yet again, another resolution, for approving submission of the Water Resources Division grant application for the coastal resiliency purposes. This was an application that's already been submitted. We're retroactively, passing a resolution, to put towards this application. This application, and grant request was made to offset the cost of moving forward with our master plan. So getting back towards the Lake Huron Forever Pledge, there are the coastal resiliency options for grants, that strengthen our resolve moving forward. And this would actually help offset the cost of our master plan. So I would, entertain a motion to move forward with the resolution moving, for the, coastal resiliency, grant that we've applied for.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, motion on the table. Is there
Support.
support?
Supported.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yeah.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, moving forward to the next item of new business. Is the new item 12, which is an amendment to the F&B operations contract that we have for operations of our DPW. In this amendment, principally,
This,
am I skipping over one?
what about the,
No, you're not.
oh, wait.
F and B. We're on F and B.
We had the Straley thing in there.
Yeah.
That is
For
part of the grant
Yeah.
application.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, fine.
All right,
Yeah.
forgive me.
No worries, no worries.
I fell
Um,
asleep, but I'm back.
So again, a new item 12, which is the F&B Operations and Resource Management Incorporated Agreement Amendment number 1. Principally, the only changes within this amendment are the term of contract, taking it to 7 years. Also, a reduction in the OMN allowance from $250,000 to $120,000 annual. And then expanded language that affords internal capabilities of in-scope work utilizing Mr. Lytle and his staff to help with park benches, which are currently being sandblasted. One was sandblasted, so actually one was dead on arrival. They started sandblasting and I got a text and saying, there's nothing to sandblast.
Sandblasted the metal.
We have 3 hours into this and I have a handle. I said, get rid of the handle before you can't recycle that.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were in a very bad state of disrepair, so I'm very happy with that. But that is part and parcel of a synopsis of the amendment therein. Any questions? Otherwise, I'd ask for,
I just have a quick question. So why, just because it seems like a big reduction, but why from 250,000 to 120?
so if we go back approximately, we started having these discussions after principally a year and a half ago after that hard winter, when we had an accelerated amount of service line breaks. Since it won't go on more conversation there, since we've had a better atmosphere. And greater stability economically in terms of the service line repair. And so I think we've actually been operating, we've actually internally reduced that O and M. I think we've been operating on a reduction of the O and M now for 4 or 5 months, if not greater.
If not greater, probably.
And
Over
it
six.
meets those, we're still hitting
Yeah.
affected work.
But we're
the
paying
needs.
for the digs.
We're still,
directly.
we're paying for the
Right,
days,
yeah, that
which
makes
then
sense.
therein saved us, that 5% admin on that.
Okay.
So we looked at that as, barring any massive non-issues, 120,000 annual was more than enough.
That raises two questions.
Yes, sir.
One is, are we doing the digs now ourselves with the equipment we purchased a while back?
We have done some. What we're actually doing, is utilizing that equipment to, the biggest cost savings is on the, restoration and the refurbishment of those dig sites. Not having that subbed out
Oh, okay.
has been a massive cost saving.
Cause I've noticed we still have, I think, 30-some thousand with 1 month left to go in that.
Yeah,
Fun.
and that was part of that conversation of how do we, because no party outside of maybe us wants to have paid in too much, and then them as a private company and organization don't want to have that retainer and that balance laying over. So we're trying to find, moving forward, what is that threshold? We are also, just so that you're aware of, we've reapplied
That was
through
the second
the
question.
Drinking Water State Revolving Fund with an accelerated mechanism. The language all remain the same. The only change to that application was the increase of a 30% driver as to labor and materials. So a $16.5 million project, I think, has exacerbated to this last iteration of $20.8 million for the exact same project
In 1 year.
Wow.
in 1 year.
Wow.
So did
So,
I proactively answer your second question?
You did, that was it.
Copy.
so that answers one of my questions as to why that reduction was so significant. And then our staff is doing the cleanup work essentially.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense. And then I do have maybe a question as to, maybe a better understanding it under Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Relative to the Grand Point Harbor subdivision. I take it in the past that they've owned these pumps and that we
Yeah.
have been doing essentially the repairs. Now, it sounds like F&B is going to be doing that scope of service, but that the billing will come straight through to the township. The township will look for reimbursement from the subdivision. Is that how I'm understanding that?
So are you speaking in regards to which page of the amendment? In the facilities.
The first page.
Exhibit A.
The second,
Yep.
yes, first page, Exhibit A, going on to the next page. So it sounds like Bear Point Harbor subdivision.
Yep.
Has their own stuff.
Correct.
And that they don't have the ability to maintain it, so they have entered into an agreement effectively with F&B. F&B does whatever needs to be done, and then the bill comes to us for payment, and then we seek payment through the Bear Point
So-
Harbor subdivision.
So, couple points of clarification.
Only two?
Yeah.
Bad.
So the grounds wherein this actually lies is from Jerry Johnson's at the cul-de-sac of Bear Point proper to the end of the point, which is now Larry Clark's residence at 109 Bear Point. There are 5 residential lift stations, daisy chained to the principal duplex station that's at the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
That inherent to Mr. Harris, who developed that neighborhood, wrote this agreement, and the neighborhood, this is a scenario where I looked at it as, should we give consideration to a similar scenario of Wyndham Garden? And they can't afford it because there's only 5 residents, and the costs that we initially saw were hovering right around 10,000 per can. That would be directly correlated to these residents. So the existing agreement that has always been conveyed is that any of the issues, any costs that are generated by the sewer lift stations on private property are to be defined and divvied to the cost direct to that residence. So they're not in contract, they just by default are kind of in a weird quasi public-private partnership. But it is solely to the sewer mechanism and easement language in that regard, because we had 3 different service agreements with neighborhoods. We have Trowbridge, we had Wyndham Garden, and we had Bear Point. And those conveyances of the infrastructure. This one's a little odd.
Yeah. it seems
And
a
it's
little
not
muddy.
cost effective to put that burden solely on individuals. These cans, as dilapidated as they are actually now being maintained and haven't had any issues in quite some time. So
Interesting.
they aren't in a contract. If we incur costs in scope or out of cost, those are direct costs that we pass as a township pass on to residents A.
And if resident A can't pony up the money, then it just gets a tax lien or something?
Well, as in water and sewer bills, those costs can actually be put onto taxes.
Okay,
If payment is deficient.
same scenario here.
Same, sir.
All right,
Any other questions to
negative.
copy that? So I'd entertain and recommend this amendment with those changes, principally being the reduction of the OMM allowance, the term of the contract, and the addition of language for in-scope utilization of staff.
We're extending the contract to how long?
7 years, I believe.
Okay, that's what I
This is
thought.
what this was. This was coming into the final year of the first tier of this contract. And trustee Lappin asked the same question of, oh, why would we give and to be honest, this is one of the best decisions that the township has made in regards to our infrastructure. On giving considerations that we're no longer having the conversation of authorities. It makes a perfect sense to.
So do you need a motion or do we have one on? the
We
table?
do
No,
not
we
have a
do not
motion.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion on the table to move forward with the amendment 1 to the F and B contract. Is there support?
Or
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Clerk Plavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
yes,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward at the next item of business, which is new 13, which is we have acting chief Watterson to present for on behalf of the fire department, the BioCare quote.
Thank you. Good evening. So I'd like to just have the one request. I'd like to seek approval to proceed with employee MyOcean required medical questionnaire and a pulmonary function testing for all fire staff. In addition, 3 of the employees need their TB skin testing. This service would be provided by BioCare for a total cost of $2,130 from professional and contractual services, which would be out of GL 205-336-801-000.
I have a question.
Yes.
And it's probably
If you'd like, I can do this slower.
no, no.
We can keep
Yeah,
this
no,
going.
No, my question is more for Supervisor Skibby. Why did we not pay this out of physicals? Because it's a medical.
I didn't code it's not the medical, he's using professional and contractual.
Yeah, and to me, it's more like physical medical.
And do we have sufficient?
We have
funds?
5,000 in
Okay.
that.
Then would your recommendation, and I guess I look to this recommendation in support with, instead of the GL of 801-000, which is just simply professional and contractual services, but to use 205-336, what is it?
96300, which is physicals. That way we have more of a,
An understanding moving forward what total costs.
that we're doing for medical testing and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So,
Is that good with you?
I'm happy.
so we have a recommendation, from
make that-
Acting Chief Watterson to move forward with the BioCare quote for a total cost of $2,130 to come out of for physicals, which is 205-336-963-000.
You made that motion?
I'll make the
We have a
motion.
motion on the table. Is there support?
I'll support
It's
it.
been moved and supported. Further discussion?
So I take it none of this stuff will be done within the mid-Michigan system?
BioCare is the
Way to go.
most cost-effective way to go. We're not doing complete physicals this year because for the union contract, they are only done on even years. So next year we'll have, everybody will have a physical,
But even when
but
we,
these are required annually.
Yep. So to your question, Sarah, why are we not using My Michigan in regards to physicals moving forward? Because we're actually probably attainable to achieve all physicals for the cost of one physical through My Michigan.
Well, I knew that there was I knew that we went through this exercise before and there was a pretty significant difference.
Yep.
And so, I just saw the travel allowance and thought, oh, geez, we can do this stuff.
Which aren't we splitting? I mean,
Some of that, because I think this is coordinated with
the city and CRTC.
Yeah, I don't know who.
One of them.
One of them was on the same schedule, so hopefully there will be a potentially reduction, or maybe this is the reduced
So should we
Should
amend
we
the
amend it
motion
to
to
not to
say up
exceed?
to 2,000?
No, because we know exactly how
I'm
many.
gonna take 20
Yeah.
people. in one
Okay.
day.
Yeah, the
We
process.
know exactly who the people are that need each.
No, I meant for regarding the travel.
I don't. even-
No, that is the split already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
that is the
I
split.
didn't- Yes.
So
Trustee Ryan.
am I reading this right, Chief, that
Wow.
21 people are getting these respiratory?
That is correct. So 21 personnel will be having the respiratory medical questionnaire and also the pulmonary function
Are they
test.
all active in the department?
Yes,
That's paid on call and.
that's
full-time?
paid on call and full-time staff.
And that you can do transporting of 21 people to where is it, Gaylord?
No, they
No,
come
No,
here.
no, they will be coming right here.
Okay, that's their cost. Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Watterson?
Travel cost seems high to me. Like 1,000 miles, am I figuring that right?
It's,
$1,000.
but it's
for
overnight, no
hospitalization.
hotel.
yeah.
It's,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
more
for them to bring they have a
Driving
large
up from
bus.
Springfield, Missouri.
They bring a trailer and set it on.
Yeah, they actually bring a big bus
Yeah.
up here and they come from, I think, the whole area.
Yeah, I saw it came from.
You walk in.
so, all right,
Yeah,
that-
yeah, so that's for,
They had like a
I'm
band grand bus
crushing
like
it.
that too.
7:30.
Once they had
Typical
traveling,
ambulance.
I'm
maybe
not
a
sure if they
hospital or
do.
somebody.
In Michigan.
I don't know about that, but somebody
Yeah.
that's similar.
You're not talking
So
about.
that's basically a mobile unit.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
I
yep,
got
and they
you.
can do, they bring a physician's assistant, so if you need a full physical, hearing, eye test, blood work.
Got it. All
Yep.
right, makes sense.
They have
Okay,
one.
so we have,
Yeah, that's
Yeah, motion and support.
we have a motion and support to move forward with the bio. Any other discussion or questions for? Mr. Watterson?
Interim Chief Waters.
No, not interim, acting,
Acting.
acting, not interim.
Get the title right.
Sorry, sorry.
Don't do that to me.
Seeing no other discussion, roll call please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That concludes our new business.
That was accidentally scanned in.
And this is the second opportunity for public comment. If there's anybody online with public comment, please use the bottom taskbar and ellipsis, raise your hand or send a message asking to be heard. Having nobody online and seeing no public comment in person, is there further discussion for the good of the order?
One thing, I guess, since we are, and I'm gonna see if I can't drag this up for some time.
Yeah, I'd say 29 minutes.
You've already lost, so just.
I'm a
stay out of
gracious
it.
loser. I'm a gracious
Stay out of it.
As it only helping this timeline. Since we have now effectively locked down all important parts of this building, should we, or do we, or have we ever considered renting out this hall?
Well, that's very interesting that you should say that, as the policy and procedure group started with our infancy 6+ years ago. we actually have in our policy and procedure manual, the opportunity, as many township halls have. We've never defined a cost, and to be honest, I've only had, since I've been in office, one person ask if it was for rent.
Well, we probably, if we did a
But,
study or something.
but then the problem is, it's not a problem, but we don't have the ability to secure outside of this room. Like with internal, I mean, those by doors, those don't lock. And so how would you keep people in
Plus
that
our
scenario?
kitchen really isn't set up either. I mean,
It's,
having a baby shower or something.
it's a struggle.
Yeah, well, all right.
And I mean, honestly,
guess
if
what do
somebody
you
wants
mean
to
we
rent this
can't?
place for a
Every-
party.
What do you mean we can't seal this off?
Well, I just meant those
The
two
kitchen
doors,
area.
because then we'd have to get a different door on the assessing or lock that door from the other side, just to.
I was gonna say, we
contain
can lock that assessing door.
It's-
So-
we don't have to
I don't know,
set-
just some
it's
food for
kind
thought,
of
I guess. We
medium.
could, pay some, it probably wouldn't generate a bunch of money, but. it'd
Because we'd
probably
have to
bring in
pay an
some good
employee
development.
to be here.
Yeah, gotta factor all that stuff into your
Right.
cost.
So. Good
Alright.
question.
That's what I thought.
What, can I
In
ask a
fact, that's
question?
pretty nice.
Laura.
Since we're talking about the building and to kind of go off of what Steve said, you know, those front doors have that gap under there, you know, there's some issues out there.
We have a lot of issues.
No,
There's
but I
gonna be
mean, just because we're not like done once we do.
No,
the
no, this
skylights.
isn't the last thing. I
And
mean,
even the windows out there aren't
Well,
the
the-
best either.
well, the windows, I mean, toots, where do we stop? We could remove.
No, I know,
the-
I'm just
the
saying,
block
but that,
wall and the
because the
entryway.
door, you know,
Yeah.
we've talked about the door,
Yep.
and that one barely.
It's just the reality that
It
we live
is.
in with our economic means. We're not gonna be moving into a brand new multi-million-dollar building anytime soon. So we might as well be whole and sound where we're at.
And I guess we have to do it step by step.
Right.
And we can't
We
just,
can't eat the
because
elephant.
we need all new windows through the building.
Too many
And I had one question.
Yeah,
So what is your comment on
I'm
that?
just trying to kill time at this point.
No, we're not killing a half
Yes,
hour.
yes.
I had one question. How much time do we need?
14 and a half minutes to push it.
No, we're good. We're good at
No.
working now.
So. if there's-
Your report said preparing options for land sales. maybe I missed that from the last.
No,
meeting.
no, that's just, we have, the township, oddly enough, is holding various parcels. We've had this kind of on and off discussion, of micro slivers of land that are landlocked. Our biggest land holding is 140-acre parcel, and that was the old township dump on West Long Lake Road. And I see it as I think we should, given the consideration that we don't have any active land banks in the area. And its only inherent value to the township would be best served to be back on the tax roll. Versus not on the tax roll and not being used. So just kind of making sure, getting those ducks in
And
a
you're
row.
aware that there's going to be a county land bank.
They're working on it.
I'm attending the first meeting Wednesday.
Okay, wonderful. If you could report back, that'd be well.
Presque Isle County has that. It's been very effective. Other question.
Yes.
Sorry.
You guys just gotta keep going.
I happened to take a shortcut the other day down Groom Road to Long Lake Road and noticed that rather dilapidated looking baseball field there.
Yep.
That's ours, right?
No, it is not.
Oh.
That was sold before in the 2016 election cycle.
Oh, okay.
That was sold for $10,000 to the landholder that actually I met with this past Friday. That has some pretty interesting things potentially coming down.
All right,
the
well,
pipe.
all right, no, great. I just thought it was still ours and I'm like, we ought to at least cut the grass.
At least
Good
one.
shake.
Cut the grass.
At a minimum. cut the
Or
grass.
write ourselves a blight ticket.
Well, I am not yet, because there will be introduced potentially, a lawn maintenance ordinance, that started the conversation, that. You know, when you have as many complaints as I had, and now given the fact that we can be very succinct in our application to an ordinance of that nature to just commercial and residential function, affords us greater flexibility. Affords us greater flexibility So that will be, I'll be bringing that before the board in the near future as well. Any other discussion for the good of the order?
No.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Support, oh, Norm.
I was gonna say, good guy. on the table.
Thank you.
Can you do
So we have a
that?
motion to, and support,
Can you do that in a roll call?
Yeah, I think the chair can actually
yeah.
adjourn a meeting.
So, with that being said, further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Meeting adjourned at 7:34. Thank you very much.